Okay, so we're factoring completely, meaning first thing we're gonna do is look and see if we have a GCF for these three terms, okay? First thing I'm gonna notice is they all have x's, right? So they have at least one x in common. Okay, I can take one x away from all three of them. I can't take two x's away from all three because this one only has one, right? Which means I can only take one x away from all three. So then I want to see if there's a number that they're all divisible by, right? So if I list out 3, 9, and 30, the only things that multiply to give me 3 is 1 times 3. So those are the only possible factors that they could have in common, right? Well, you know, 9 times 3, or 3 times 3 is 9, and 3 times 10 is 30. So you can see that their greatest common factor is going to be 3. So I can take a 3x out of all of these terms. So if I divide 3x cubed by 3x, 3 divided by 3 is 1. And if I have 3x's on top and I take one of those 3 away, then 3 minus 1 is 2. So I'm left with an x squared. If I divide this by 3x, 9 divided by 3 is 3. If I have 2 x's on top and 1 on bottom, I take 1 away, and one of the 2 minus 1 is 1. And negative 30x divided by 3, not negative 3, a positive 3. So negative 30 divided by 3 is a negative 10. And if I take one x on bottom away from one of the ones on top, that leaves me no x's. So here's what I have. So with that, what we want to do is, remember the x we would do? Our a times c and then our b. So my a is 1, my b is 3, and my c is negative 10. So a times c, 1 times negative 10 is negative 10, and my b is 3. So 1 times 10 is 10, and then 2 times 5 is 10. To multiply and give us a negative, 1 would need to be negative. Since they add up and stay positive, your larger numbers are positive. So you can see negative 2 and 5 multiply to be negative 10, and negative 2 plus 5 is 3. So our answer would be 3x out front, and then we'd have x minus 2 and x plus 5. Hopefully this is coming back to you and you haven't forgotten everything we did for factoring. Okay, 2 more we're going to review, okay? So notice I only have 2 terms here. I should still always first look for my GCF. So if I take 18 and 32, I have 1 times 18, 2 times 9, and 3 times 6. Well, let's see what we have for 32. 2 times 16, 3 doesn't work, 4 times 8, and that's it. They're not both divisible by 18, not both divisible by 32, not both divisible by 9 or 6, or 16 or 8, or 4 or 3, but they are both divisible by 2. Which means we have a GCF of 2. So 18 divided by 2 would leave us 9x squared. Negative 32 divided by 2 would leave us with a negative 16. Here we have a special case. If you remember when we went over the difference of squares, okay, here's the formula. It was a squared minus b squared equaled a minus b times a plus b, right? So this is my a term, 9x squared. I want to know what the square root of, basically, of what this is, right? So I know the square root of 9 is 3, and the square root of x squared is x, which means that's our a. And then the square root of 16 is 4, so that's my b. So we're going to have 3x as my a minus 4, and then we're going to have 3x plus 4. with the 2 out front. Because that's our GCF. One last one. Here's where we have 4 terms. So this is the one where we kind of broke everything down in the boxes. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and break down my 3x's for x cubed. X squared has 2 x's. This term has 1x, and 18 doesn't have any x's. Okay. In front of x cubed is just a 1. To get -3, we're going to have 3 times a -1. To get -6x, we have -1, and then 3 times 2. And then 18, we would break that down, because what we're doing is the only things that multiply to give us 3 is just a 1 times 3, right? So we leave it as a 1 times 3, but that 1 would be negative. Only things that multiply to give me 6 would be 3 and 2. Both of these are prime. They only break down to be 1 times themselves, right? And then 18, we could have 3 and 6. And then we could break down 6 even further into 3 times 2. So we'd rewrite 18 as 3 times 3 times 2. And then we're looking to see what each row and each column has in common. So for this row, they both have 2 x's in common, so an x squared. For this row, they both have a 3 times 2 in common, and 3 times 2 is 6. For this column, I'll do it in a different color. They both just have an x in common. And then for this column, they both have a 3 in common. So we get our answer to be x plus 3 times x squared plus